Today I have a few things I want to go over with you guys. Recently I've just been kind of swamped and haven't been able to get on here. So, this week I want to go over the quincunx. That's a soft aspect. I've found some things with, and maybe even the semi-square. I didn't used to, and I still don't really put much emphasis on the minor aspects, but we did find with the moons that the semi-sextile can be very significant. So maybe we'll do that this week. And then also we're in the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde. So we're definitely gonna have to talk about that in the next 2 weeks before Mercury goes retrograde April 1st. I made a little outline here so I can stay on topic. Do be sure to check out the big 144 series if you are an Aries through Libra and Aries through Libra Sun with an Aries Moon. I know a lot of you love that series and you're waiting for your video. I am going to be getting back to it sooner rather than later. So today we're going to go over kind of video. I'm going to briefly just do a refresh of what we already have discussed many times about moon to moon compatibility and Venus to Mars. And the Venus to Mars will segue into what I feel about Venus to Venus, or what I've observed, and Mars to Mars, because I have found a theory there as well. And it sort of contradicts the theory of Venus to Mars. So that's why we're going to go over that briefly again. So it doesn't contradict it, but it's sort of a, if not this, it's kind of like coding. If this, if not this, else this kind of a thing. So if not Venus conjunct or trine Mars, because those would be in the same sign, then there's an alternative, but it wouldn't be Venus and Mars being in the same sign, if that or in the same polarity, if that makes sense. And we'll quickly go over what polarity is for you guys. It's all 12 signs divided by 2. There's 6 feminine and 6 masculine. So when we're talking about polarity, we're talking about air and fire, which are the masculine, that group of 6, and water and earth, which is the feminine, that group of 6. Polarity, all right? Feminine, masculine, like the yin and yang. So anyways, we're going to go over that. But, I wanted to say, so I've been getting beat up lately by this Mars opposition Jupiter relationship, and our moons are not compatible. They're quincunx in a 7-degree orb. And so a lot of you would say, well, why did you even get involved? Well, we have a sun moon out of sign conjunction with his sun directly on my ascendant. And then we have a sun moon within 3-degree orb conjunction in the same sign in my 7th house and on his IC, which are angles, for those of you who don't know, that control private life and partnership. So it was a tough one not to get caught up in, and definitely soulmate contacts there, with the North Node returning in Aries and Libra, going through my, ascendant, descendant, and all of that. So there's definitely a lesson to be learned there. But I do have to reinforce, as I've been going through this, it's been 3.5 months now. And if you guys have watched my Are You Wasting Your Time video, it's about a 2 to 4 month hot romance and fling. You hit it off, you feel like you've met the one. That's my Mars square opposition Jupiter definition. I have told people in my life, as I come to the conclusion, just talking about the situation, which I haven't really been doing that much of, I come to the conclusion, oh, that's the name of that video. Are you wasting your time? Because people are like, do you think you're wasting your time here? So, I had told them, if it had been Mars square Jupiter, I wouldn't even entertain it. I've actually turned down several decent seeming men since I discovered that, because of Mars square Jupiter. But because it was an opposition, and I have seen some oppositions, Mars opposition Jupiter, in like 15 to 25 year marriages, I thought, well, I know the energies. Jupiter's in Sagittarius in this scenario. I have a bunch of planets, Saturn and Uranus in Sagittarius. Maybe I can make it work. The Jupiter is literally trying my Jupiter in Aries. So I just thought there might be enough supporting, positive, reinforcing things to work through it. I have to say at this point, it's like, in one of the videos, I think it's Mars square Jupiter, I say they kind of bounce off each other. They can't get on the same page. Might be in reference to Mars and Pluto that I say that, but that's sort of the thing, is like, the tighter you try to hold on to someone, the more the universe, if it's not meant to be, right? Because I say, if you have Mars square Jupiter, it's written in the stars that the person, I say that to clients all the time. So the more you try to hold on, the more you're going to sort of get kicked off by universal forces and outside events, And Mars rules our behavior. So just the way you behave is against, Jupiter's sort of status quo, and then their status quo sort of oppresses Mars's behavior. So, it's a double-edged sword there. Oppositions can work nicely when we're dealing with malefic planets. Jupiter is malefic, I believe, or neutral, but Mars is just malefic, and Mars square opposition to anything, I don't recommend, even soft planets like Venus. With the moon, it's not going to make or break you, but you're definitely going to feel it. Or with Saturn, Saturn and the moon. Okay. So basically, I wanted to start off by saying this. A lot of you might go, oh, well, why would we listen to you when you don't practice what you preach? Because my friend, he kind of has been giving me some stuff. He's like one of my best astrology apprentices. Like, he uses divinetimingdatabase.com, where you guys can go make your own private database. He has his whole family in there now. And he's really been learning, his niece is getting divorced, and he's coming to me telling me, what she had and everything with her husband, and that it's proven through all his aunts and uncles and everyone that these theories seem to be true for him as well. So with that being said, he finally said, I'll try to explain things to him, and he gets a little lost because I talk fast, but he's like, so your best match is this guy? I'm like, no. I said, we have these really good things, but then we have these things. He's like, so who is it? And he gets a little jealous too because he likes me, and we have Mars square Saturn, so that's why we don't work. But we've been friends forever, so it can work in friendships. There's going to be, times where you're very annoyed with each other and have to take space, but malefic aspects can work in friendships and family. Just romance, they don't work so well because, there was a Christian preacher that kind of said, once we're intimate with someone physically, we have to put it in sort of a container, like a committed relationship, or it's going to burn. It's because it's a fire, right? It's passion, and it's going to burn, especially if you're a fire sign, like myself. So if you don't have it in that container of like commitment, it will burn the whole forest down. So with that being said, I basically said to him, I don't really remember, you guys. I lost my train of thought there. But so for me, it's like I have a grand cross in my birth chart. This is where I'm going before we really jump into the aspects. And so, I had made an affirmation, and I need to work more with you guys. I came up with a really cool exercise yesterday for manifestation. For law of attraction. So I might pop on this week and do that as well. It was about, so I don't forget myself, because I think I made a note. It was about attraction. If you read deep into Jerry and Esther Hicks books, I have like Ask and It Is Given and all these other books, and one talks about going up the emotional ladder, that you can't go from being like angry and disappointed to just being happy, because there'll be a resistance, and that goes against manifestation. So you have to slowly pivot your thoughts and work your way up the ladder to get to joy. So for me last night, I was thinking, when it comes to certain areas of my life, and actually I think it was more related to like finances, things that I get frustrated about, I try to do these affirmations that are the polar opposite, but I kind of stay in that mindset, Neville Goddard, of this frustration. And I realized I kind of need to start there and let myself be frustrated, and then, tell myself things to kind of slowly get to out of that, right? I should find that scale. We should do a video on it. So now I know what it was, because I review these and kind of make notes. But with that being said, for me, I had made an affirmation that I will transmute the Grand Cross in my birth chart and turn it into a positive way, I believe is the affirmation. So it's like, if my Grand Cross, almost everyone I meet, romantic interest, is going to hard square, because Grand Cross is like 4 squares, one of my major planets, especially if they're in one like conjunct compatible with Pisces, they're squaring all my Sagittarius, which is my 3rd house, the most powerful house in my chart, So with that being said, for me, it is a bit more of a challenge to find the, perfect quote unquote astrological match. So I run the birthday search for myself. If you guys want to check it out, it's on rotation411.com. It's $99, but it's where I can list like all, it'll basically get rid of, like, say you have a hard square with your to this certain 5 years of a generation, we eliminate that. So you get this list of all the birthdays or near them, depending where they were, their birthplace and time, of who you're most compatible with. So it's really cool. So when I ran mine, it was like a very short list. It was maybe like, 30 with all the positive aspects implemented, and 100 with just the negative ones taken out, like a process of elimination. And then I ran it for a client, and this was much longer than mine, because she doesn't have a Grand Cross in her birth chart. So she probably has a lot more people that she's compatible with, and that can be a challenge with like a Libra ascendant South Node, getting out of the others and being forced on your own because you're not as compatible with as many people, right? So with that being said, I came up with a cool quote for the Divine Timing Database, and then we're really going to jump into the Venus, Moon, Mars compatibility. So I was kind of just sitting here thinking, the sun is transiting my Venus and then my Mercury soon. My Mercury is 29 degrees Pisces, square Uranus. So if I ever get a little muffled or a little, lost just review if you lost it. All right. With that being said, the divine timing database quote I just came up with, is it's like DNA. Instead of matching you with your ancestors, though, we match you with your mate. I thought that was cute, because it's like a thumbprint, your birth chart. Anyways, so with that being said, quick review. Moon to moon compatibility is the most important. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the way that the moons are compatible is that they are in friendly signs, which would be in the same polarity. So earth and water, and air and fire, masculine, feminine. You want your moons to be in the same polarity. So if you have an earth moon, you want someone with earth or water moon. And if you have a fire moon, fire or air, there's a semi-sextile, except check out one of my other videos on this if you want to know what that is. There's plenty of videos, but as you know, if you've been following me for a while, and I don't have a specific video on it, but I know it's in like any video that discusses positive aspects, Venus to Mars compatibility. So I talk about the Venus-Mars conjunction. We want the female energy, unless we're dealing with same sex, it can be a little bit different. There it's usually, you're going to kind of be able to just, feel the energies, but we want the woman's Venus and the man's Mars whenever we're dealing with Venus-Mars conjunction, Mars conjunction, trine, or a sextile, okay? We want them to be Venus and Mars. That's one of the best romance aspects aside from moon compatibility. And if you have both, that's even better, as long as there's no malefic, right? So with that being said, female, which if it's Mars being the man in a conjunction, it doesn't work. In a sextile or a trine, it'll help. But anyways, so with that being said, this means they're going to be in the same polarity, Venus and Mars, okay? If they're in a conjunction, a trine or a sextile, they are going to be, because a trine is a fire sign to a fire sign, for example, or a water sign to a water sign. So that's going to mean if they're both in a fire sign, they're both in a masculine polarity. If they're both in a water sign, they're both in a feminine polarity. So with that being said, in the best case scenario here, Venus and Mars would be in the same polarity. But I have found, if we take that aside, okay, if say Venus and Mars are not aligning within a 5-degree orb in a conjunction, trine, or sextile, then the next best thing actually you would have both, if that makes sense. It's sort of like apples and oranges. So either you've got the apple and you love apples, okay, or you've got this orange and you love oranges, okay, but you can't have the apple and the orange in this scenario, if that makes sense. So ideally, you're going to have moon-to-moon compatibility, and then you're going to have no malefics, which if you go to divinetimingdatabase.org, we have a bunch of people in there right now if you want to be matched that way, and you can go on and like chat with them like Facebook Messenger and get to know them. So it's pretty cool. So, moon-to-moon compatibility, no malefics. So if you have those, and then you have Venus conjunct trine or sextile Mars, in addition, that is like the best, okay? But if you don't have Venus conjunct trine or Mars, then the next best thing, the oranges thing, is going to be you want Venus and Venus to be in the same polarity. Like Venus conjunct Venus is a beautiful one that you see a lot. And that one actually is one of the very few positive aspects, even more than Venus conjunct Mars. Venus conjunct Venus can really gloss over a lot of negative stuff. Like my favorite example of this is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. They had Mars square Jupiter and Saturn square Pluto, and they didn't really have a lot great going on, but they had Venus conjunct Venus, and it just, their moons weren't even in the same polarity or compatible, but Venus conjunct Venus, like they were trying to hold on for dear life, that they really felt true love, even though everyone on the outside's like, yeah, sure, that's true love, right? So my light's getting dim, and I'm going to wrap it up soon, but so if you can't have Venus and Mars in the same polarity, then, and only within 5 degrees. So if it's like Venus and Leo and Mars and, well, that would be a square, but Mars and Scorpio, no, hold up. Venus and Leo and Mars and Aries, okay? But it's like Venus and Leo at 3 degrees and Mars and Aries at 25 degrees. It's not going to be the same as the moons, where if that would work fine, we just want them in friendly signs. It's really not going to be significant at that point. You know what I mean? So I'm talking only, and aside from 5-degree orbs of Venus and Mars being in the same polarity, conjunct trine or sextile, we want, this could be friendly signs like the moons. We want Venus and Venus to, so that was the apples, right? Venus and Mars being in friendly signs. This isn't possible with this, okay? Well, unless your Venus and Mars are both in a masculine and both in a feminine, then it would be possible, I guess. So that would be sort of the banana, the yellow area. So some of you may have that. But for most people, your Venus and your Mars are usually going to be in a masculine or a feminine. So for example, me, my Venus is in Pisces, and so that's a feminine sign, and my Mars is in Gemini, which is a masculine sign. So that actually makes a square. But some of you have like Venus-Mars conjunction in, say, Aries. That's going to be a masculine sign. So for you, actually, you would be more like the banana or the apple, where you would want somebody's Venus and Mars also to be masculine signs. So basically what it is you want Venus and Venus to be in the same polarity and Mars, but if they're not themselves in the same polarity, then it's okay. Like my friend, his Mars is in a feminine sign, my Venus is in a masculine sign, or Venus is in a masculine sign, and I said for like me and him it wouldn't work. Okay, so his Venus is in Libra, which is masculine, and his Mars is in Virgo, which is feminine. Even on my moon, it's not ideal. So kind of like the moons, you want Venus and Venus to be in the same polarity. So both in masculine, both in feminine, and Mars to Mars to be in the